Although you can learn a lot of things about a software system by watching a demo, some of the most important things are under the hood and can't be seen in a demo. It is extremely important to understand the architecture of any mission-critical software system you use to ensure that it will meet your current and future needs. This video will provide a quick overview of the foundational architecture of QuikStor Management Software. We'll be discussing some technical concepts, but I'll try to keep it as non-technical as possible. In this video, we'll cover the differences between a monolithic architecture, which seems to be commonly used in the self-storage technology space, and a distributed architecture in a simplified example. Monolithic architecture is derived from the word monolith, implying that the system is composed all in one piece. In essence, everything that is required to run the system runs on a single machine. This architecture can be employed in on-premise or software-as-a-service deployments. In our example here, a computer connected to the internet connects to a server hosted in the cloud in order to work in the software. The server has limited capacity, so as more users access the system, the only way to add capacity is to deploy more and more servers. The key problem here is that each server's capacity is fixed. Therefore, you are competing for the server's resources with every other user whose facility happens to be running on that server. If the load on the server is large, which can happen during periods of heavy usage at peak times, the system may slow down significantly, or you may not be able to access the system at all. Another major problem with this software architectural approach is that each server is a separate environment. When you have to deploy an update or upgrade to the system, you have to do it on every single server. In some cases, these deployments can be across dozens or hundreds of servers. This takes a large amount of your resources as a software company away from more valuable work, like fixing bugs and building new features. So why do people still build systems in a monolithic architecture? The answer is simple. It is significantly less work and much cheaper to get your product to market. Now let's move to a simplified explanation of a more modern approach, the distributed architecture. In this system architectural approach, you don't take the easier route and build everything to run on a single server. Instead, you separate components of your system to run on an infinite number of available virtual servers. In this example, a computer connected to the internet connects to your distributed environment in order to access the software. However, when more and more users access the system detects it and automatically spins up more computing power in milliseconds to ensure that the system can manage the load and stays fast. Since system components run independently, the system can asynchronously scale if it sees a heavy load in one area of the system, but not in others. For example, if the system is bombarded with a large number of auto payments that need to be processed, it will respond in milliseconds. If the system recognizes that it needs to send millions of email messages, it responds in milliseconds. If the system recognizes that it is the first of the month and hundreds of thousands of rent renewals need to be processed, it responds in milliseconds. When these heavy loads pass, the system will shut down unneeded resources automatically, saving us on hosting costs which we pass along to our customers. It is important to note that the system can scale indefinitely, since compute resource availability is virtually limitless in modern cloud providers, such as Amazon Web Services, if you use a distributed architecture. Another immensely valuable benefit is that you are only managing a single, albeit massive, deployment. This means that you are only updating or upgrading one system. This lets our team deploy in a few minutes and spend the majority of their time building new features and fixing bugs instead of hours of managing deployments to multiple servers. In order to move from a monolithic to distributed architecture, you can't simply add a few features. You have to tear down the entire system and start from scratch. This is the approach we took when building QuikStor Management Software, with our very large team over a 3-year period to ensure that our system is the fastest, most scalable, and most configurable solution available.